talking about pulling out of her movie if Brett Ratner isn't taken off the bill.
Yeah, there's just like, I don't even know what we talk about.
Yeah.
There's just nothing going on. Man, I wish that were. Remember when there was nothing going on?
Yeah.
How much better was that?
It was so much better.
This is absolutely the time when we should be debating whether Rian Johnson has what it takes to make The Last Jedi any good. And we wouldn't have been talking about this last year at this time, but like whether this franchise can survive without Carrie Fisher.
Right.
And presumably, Luke's going down, right?
I would assume so.
Yeah, that's where that's going to happen. Or get frozen. He falls off a thing,
Frozen?
but I'm saying that he's we need some character to perish or be neutralized in Last Jedi, and so
Sure.
it's like the old guy who doesn't want the Jedi to. This is time for an end. It's time for the Jedi to end. Mark, wrong character. He's such a nice guy. You know that like. People came up to him and said, and they're like, "Come on, just a little bit.
Do the Joker."
He'd totally do it.
He would.
What's he gonna do? Say no?
No.
I'd ask him to do the Trickster from the old '90s Flash show. But
Oh,
that's
boy.
just basically a prototype Joker. So yeah, there's absolutely nothing to talk about except there's everything to talk about.
Yeah.
And of course, the whole sexual harassment scandal thing continues.
Yep.
So here's our sex harassment update. Play the music. What would it sound like?
I don't know. Entertainment Weekly.
Bad. It just sounded like a cat, like caught in a thresher on a loop. That's our music. It's terrible, and it's like okay. So like a lot of things that were just like open secrets are now not secrets anymore. But then there's a lot of things that are just whoa, really, kind
Right.
of things. And so yeah, the Louis C.K. thing is kind of the big news, which
Yep.
had been another open secret. People had known about it for years, and then he's finally, I think what prompted, so he came out and did a statement, which a lot of people are criticizing as an apology that's not an apology.
Yeah.
Because usually apologies involve the word
Sorry.
at least in English, and he never says sorry. Boy, what a victim. Boy, he's just I feel bad for him.
Well, and I saw that somebody, they fixed his apology to make it an actual
Yeah.
apology.
Yeah. I'm on Twitter sometimes too.
Yeah.
But I think it was prompted by like 5 women just all kind of coming out, not even like trying to press charges, just coming out with their statements. Look, here's what happened. And so,
Right.
yeah. And he got the full Kevin Spacey. Did you know about his movie, I Love You, Daddy, or whatever it is?
Oh.
Which is like his Woody Allen-esque movie where he or somebody is dating it's a Manhattan thing.
Okay.
Which was we were always like, is that a good idea? And it's done. It's done now. Like when we went to see Blade of the
Okay.
Immortal, there was a huge standee in the lobby of the art house theater that we were at for this movie. It's not going to be released now.
Oh, wow.
Not coming out. Dropped by his agent. Dropped by his publicist. FX, with whom he had he's made Louis for a long time. I don't think he's been doing it recently, but it was sort of like a Larry David HBO thing where they're like, you just come back when you want and do whatever. That's over.
Wow.
So, yep, he is done, at least for the conceivable future. Here's an idea. Don't do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You weirdos.
No kidding.
And anyway, it doesn't stop there. The Brett Ratner is, I think people are actually filing charges now. And as you said, Gal Gadot's like, I hope you like me as the Wonder Woman, but I'm Swedish Chef. I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, she doesn't want to come back at all unless he's out, because Rat Pack is his production company with, is it Snyder and everybody else. They're producing these films with Warner Brothers.
Right.
So she's out unless he's out. There's no choice there.
Yeah,
He's
no
gone.
kidding.
But the Hugh Hefner, also problematic, the Hugh Hefner biopic that he was working on is dead now. So yeah, the waves continue. What is it about? All right. What is it about Hollywood that of course, forgetting the fact that we all put up with this for years, once we're confronted with it, immediately something changes. Immediately we move forward on this.
Yeah.
Whereas Washington, no problem. We're not going to get political, but there's a couple things like this going on in Washington right now, and it's just, I don't know what you're talking about.
It's true.
I don't know. Mary was a teenager when she had Jesus. Yeah, politics or religion. I think we should probably just stick to our religion, which is nerd stuff. And there's some problematic, troublesome ones as well.
Yeah.
Somebody accused Jeffrey Tambor, I think a staffer or somebody on the show Transparent accused him of something.
Okay.
And so Amazon, after losing the guy that did all the TV for Amazon for the same thing, is taking this extremely seriously and they're investigating it. I can only hope. This is one of those things where it's like, I don't want to, blame the victim. We want to listen to everybody. So you kind of put your esteem for somebody kind of on hold,
Yep.
in escrow, and hopefully
Yep.
that it's going to come back. And that's what I'm hoping is going on with this. But we got to look into it. We have to know.
Similar to the George Takei.
Same thing as the George Takei one. Yep.
I mean, he's America's darling, like internet darling.
Oh, no.
So.
Oh, not guilty.
Yeah.
Who has been accused by somebody. It was a little while ago. It was like in the 80s or something. But he apparently messed with somebody. And he has denied that categorically. I follow him on Facebook, and he did release a thing saying, I don't know what this guy's talking about. I would not do something like this. And not, I don't know. I mean, again, the people that, I don't like Brett Ratner, so go ahead, fire away, but don't touch my George. But all I can do is just kind of look at it and go, all right, buddy, well, look, I can empathize with you, but not sympathize with you. You know what I mean? It's not my job. That's the job of investigators or the people who are involved in this. But,
right.
When something like this comes out, it's tough. Here's something that we haven't heard, which I think is interesting. Remember a while ago, you heard all that stuff about Bryan Singer.
Yes.
And then there's that one guy who was really pushing forward a case against him. And I think that fell apart because, and again, I don't blame anybody. I don't know this guy's situation, but he had done this to a lot of people. And so I think the case looked kind of, and it kind of fell apart. You'd think that if everybody was coming out now, somebody would come out.
Back out.
Yeah. So is that a case where Bryan Singer was sort of wrongly accused?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, this doesn't really prove anything. But the reason I brought it up is, it hurts your reputation. I mean, it hasn't stopped. It's Hollywood. It hasn't stopped Bryan Singer from making movies. But
not yet.
When if he wants to make a movie, if he wants to remake the Basketball Diaries, you're like, oh, don't send your kid to that audition. That's not going to work out. So, boy.
It's depressing.
Dead, depressed air. Here's depressing. I think a journalist is accusing Richard Dreyfuss of exposing himself.
Oh, wow.
And this is right after Richard Dreyfuss' son accused Kevin Spacey of assaulting him. So
right. Oh boy.
Anthony Edwards, remember him?
Oh
really?
I don't think
guy?
I do.
ER.
Okay.
The guy in ER?
I still don't know.
Don't worry about it. Anyway, he has claimed that he was molested for years by a producer, Gary Goddard.
Okay.
Ooh, this one's bad. So when you talk about the DC Warner Brothers shows, right?
Yes.
You're thinking about Jeff Johns. You're thinking about Greg Berlanti, and there's another name you're thinking about, Andrew Kreisberg. And Andrew Kreisberg has been suspended by the studio because he apparently has reportedly engaged in a pattern of alleged sexual harassment and inappropriate physical behavior.
Wow.
So that's bad news as well. What do you think? Wrap it all up. Give us the wisdom to get through this.
There's somebody else I saw on BuzzFeed who's a comic guy from DC.
Batman? Oh, yeah.
No.
Yeah, Eddie Berganza.
Yes.
So here's a good thing, and thank you for bringing it back to the nerd side.
Sure.
Maybe that'll finally get effing dealt with now, because people have known about that for years, and DC has done nothing about it. And to be fair, or maybe not. I don't know. But to be fair, a guy like, Dan Didio, who's like in charge of the whole thing, people are like, why don't they just take care of this?
Right.
Comics is definitely a boys' club, but this is horrible. And I read I read like a Comics Alliance or somebody who I felt like they knew about the situation, but they said, well, look at it this way. It's horrible, but DC as a wing of AOL, Time Warner, or whatever it is now, is just following the corporate line. And when you look at other examples of this, like, for instance, Andrew Kreisberg, same company.
Right.
It just seems that the corporate policy is to just shut it up, do the Catholic priest thing, move the guy to another department or whatever, and just don't talk about it. And so if they're just falling in line with that, it's not, again, no excuses, but that explains why this guy has continued to rise in the ranks of editorial when there are these complaints about him. And a lot of times I think he was promoted out of a position where he was involved in harassing, and then it's like, all right, we'll give him his own corner office, and there's no ladies' offices next to that corner. You know what I mean?
Great.
So that might have been their version of sort of trying to prevent it.
Right.
Here's a way to prevent it. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye. You're fired.
Exactly.
You're fired.
But he's been suspended now.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. So we're finally getting some movement on this.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Can anything at all bring us out of this funk? Make us feel better? What about coughing? Sorry, I'm talking too long. You take over. I'm going to take some coffee.
Well, we're going to be talking about Blade the Immortal
I
later.
know. That was the one thing. Something that we probably shouldn't look too far into the sexuality of itself.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll talk about it when we get there. We'll talk about it when we get there. Yeah, it's without even doing a bit or one of my usual stupid. We're doing a half month on this. We're doing pretty much back-to-back samurai stuff. We did Blade of the Immortal just a little while ago, and so now Lone Wolf and Cub.
Yep.
Now we're doing Blade of the Immortal because it's a movie.
That's right.
That's right. We saw the movie Blade of the Immortal. And we're going to review that, do our usual spoiler, or not spoilers, and then get into spoilers. And for Comic Book Club, we're looking at the old Blade of the Immortal comic book.
That's right.
The first volume, and we'll talk about its publication schedule, which is weird, but it's basically the first volume called Blood of 1,000.
Yep.
Oh, the Blood of 1,000. Who are we?
Who are we? We are the Just Enough Trope Podcast.
We're the Just Enough Trope Podcast. I guess we should do that. I'm your host, Caliban, joined as always by my co-host.
Hi, I'm Mikan Hana.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to do today. And that's about it. We'll talk about some news as well, and I think we've got it pretty much out. Bad news first, good news later, right?
Yeah.
So we got rid of all that bad stuff, unless something breaks. I don't even want to look at my phone. I'm not going to. We're recording this on a Sunday, and we'll just let all that ride. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Cal. It's a nice day outside.
Yeah.
I went out to brunch this morning.
Ooh, great.
Yeah. Had challah pumpkin French toast.
So basic.
So basic, so delicious.
So basic.
I don't care how basic it is.
Yeah. Okay, that's different.
Yeah.
Now, for a French, I'm not a French toaster. For a French toast, don't you want isn't challah real thick?
Yeah.
Would it even take the egg? You want it to be suffused.
It takes the egg really well because it has a lot of egg in it already.
Oh, so it's like kind.
It's already very moist.
Okay.
So
it gets right in there.
Yeah.
All right. And then
it makes some of the best French toast.
Was it just like pumpkin spice?
Or
like pumpkin pie spice?
Well, actually, there's pumpkin flavoring in the challah.
Okay. Oh, already. You just ordered some challah and it'd be pumpkin challah.
And then they had
just
pumpkin seeds.
Talk. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, pumpkin seeds.
And then they had some pumpkin pie filling that you could put on top of it.
Oh, boy.
As well as whipped cream and maple syrup. Pure maple syrup. It was delicious.
And then they sprinkled with candy corn.
Yeah.
And there's a candle shoved inside of it.
That's right.
All right. If you like it, then great.
I do like it.
and that's it.
And that's it.
You had it. I bet they're not going to serve it after today, right? Because even Starbucks now, I went in. Look, I got to admit, I'm also white. And I was like, I'll have a PSL now and then.
Yeah.
And I went into Starbucks. Over. It's peppermint mocha.
It's over?
Yeah.
How is it over?
It doesn't run through Christmas. It's just
It should run at least until Thanksgiving.
Right, but it's the manufactured scarcity. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, well, you missed it. It's like the McRib. You could just serve the McRib all year round.
Yeah.
But people would get sick of it and they wouldn't buy it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I like to know that I'm getting my last PSL though.
you rub your finger on the inside and put it on your teeth.
Exactly.
Can't
exactly.
get that anymore.
Because
drinking knockoff Mexican PSLs after this.
I get PSLs until I can't get PSLs
pumpkin
anymore.
spice Latino.
Oh my gosh.
It's probably not okay. All right. Anyway, let's talk about the news. Well, there is a lot of nerd news going out in the nerd news factory machine.
Yeah.
I'll just start reading the news. Anyway, so there's some good news, I guess. We've got a look at the new Doctor's outfit. Jodie Whittaker is playing the... Who can even count anymore? I mean, she's...
13.
Yeah. I mean, technically she should be 14, but she's 13. Lucky number 13. And we've seen her outfit, and reactions are mixed to great. They're not mixed. People seem to just kind of love it, except a few people, myself included, have been that person to say that the Emperor is wearing Mork from Ork's outfit, and that's all I'm going to say, and I can't wait for the new show. But come on.
I'm looking forward to the new show. I'm a little lukewarm about the outfit.
Really?
Yeah.
You're supposed to love it. You're a girl.
I don't love it.
Let's really judge it. Let's take this woman and we'll just judge the hell out of her appearance. And I will say that I think we did this before. We did this with Capaldi. We've done this with everybody so far.
Yeah.
I call David Tennant is a pinstripe clown as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
So, we're totally criticizing, but let's do it. But let's give it like 2.5 minutes. We won't go crazy.
Okay. Well, with Capaldi, I remember...
No, we're talking about the girl.
Oh, well... Okay, fine.
That's why I put a time limit on it.
I think it's kind of... I don't know. I think it's kind of basic, but not in a good way. But like, who wears culottes?
The doctor does.
Apparently.
Dr. Koo. Lots. More like Dr. Big Lots. It's kind of put together from a lot of different stuff. Does that read? Is that Big? You know Big Lots?
Yeah, I know Big Lots.
Okay, anyway. That's a joke. That's a joke that only works if you've just told another dumb joke, and they kind of go together. All right, well, I'll take over. Although I would like you to weigh in on... Okay, all right. So first of all, forget it. We're 2.5 minutes. We're already done. But we'll try to wrap it up real fast. I think there is an unavoidable double standard.
Yes.
So
I think so too.
Yeah, and so I've heard people go, "Oh, look at the Sixth Doctor. He's got it's Joseph of many colors or whatever." And then you look at Sylvester McCoy's got freaking question marks all over, and I'm like. Yeah, but we don't like... You like those? No, we don't. Those are stupid. Those look ridiculous. And then you look at the last 4 Doctors, all have solid concepts. You've got Leather Jacket Guy. You've got Pinstripe Clown Guy. You've got Bow Tie Guy. You've got, Badass Coats and Boots Guy. When he wasn't just wearing jeans.
Yes.
So her look is... I think it's cute and it's sort of fresh, but already I'm using... female fashion terms to describe it.
Right.
I just don't like how referential it is. I feel like they didn't have a strong concept, and so they naturally went, give her suspenders, because that's a, Fifth Doctor or whatever. Give her a Wesley Crusher stripe on her shirt that is all the colors of Four's scarf.
Yeah.
Give her, boots to connect her back to 12, but also they're kind of Missy boots, too.
Yeah.
And then, give her a coat, because she's got to look kind of cool. And it's like, it's so patchwork to me. I wish that you had just found a cool outfit that would be that a woman would wear, and that's maybe a little fashion forward, but is also kind of out there, and just go, bam, that's it.
Yeah. Like
they already kind of shot their wad with Missy, because she could have had like a sort of Victorian chic kind of thing, and that would have been really cool.
Yes.
But then you go culottes. I go, yeah, but they're not going to put her in a skirt. People would flip out. But also, you don't want to just put her in jeans or slacks or something like that. So I see that they have the arrow has to go right through the tortured metaphor that's very thin. You know, they have to thread the needle. And I think that this is the effect of that. I kind of wish they'd just said, let's have a strong idea and we'll let the people that don't like it not like it. But this is what we want. To me, it feels designed entirely by committee, and the committee is 12 other actors who have played the Doctor.
Yes.
Now,
I agree.
What do you think about my idea about Barbie, Doctor Who Barbie? Because here,
I like Doctor Who Barbie.
Maybe I should explain my idea. It is different for men and women because you could have a doctor like the Fourth Doctor who literally just wears like a greatcoat and a scarf and a dumb hat sometimes when Tom Baker's having a bad hair day.
Right.
And that's his outfit, his uniform. But I don't think they're going to do that. They're just naturally going to give this woman who's playing a character a bunch of different outfits, I think. And you could look at that as sexist, but I would look at it that as it's just kind of the difference between how we see clothes on men and women. And personally, I don't like it if we are perpetuating like a sexual stereotype, but I do like the fact that the Doctor could like look good for a change, could like try out clothes. Like what if she just wears like a bunch of different stuff and she's like, I guess it's kind of girly, but you know, and she's like, look at my hair. I've never been a girl before. I want to check this out.
Sure.
Is that okay, or is that a bunch of male showrunners all playing Barbie with Doctor Who?
I think it's okay. I think it's, you know, the TARDIS supposedly has like costumes and stuff like that
it's
for
got a
whole wardrobe.
Yeah.
I mean, it fits the companions with stuff all the time.
Yeah. We don't know the personality of this Doctor yet. I think it's telling us that she's going to be whimsical.
Yeah, I get that from the suspenders and everything.
And the rainbow. The butterfly in the sky.
Yeah.
And then she's the picture she's standing in, like on this, you know, moor or whatever with the TARDIS, and it's like the sun's coming up behind it, and that's probably the right way to go. Part of me would like, you know, having a woman actress and then, you know, a female character. I think, you know, it's a great chance because let's face it, the beginning of the show, women have a lot more to worry about than men do in the world. And so it would be a great chance to take the character darker, but not like, ooh, darker, like, oh boy, she's got some stuff. Like some real issues, like how she's seen. And maybe now she walks into a situation and goes, well, let me tell you what it is. And people are like, all right.
Right.
Because usually the Doctor, just people start listening to him. What if they don't?
Right.
Because of sexism. And I don't think we're going to do that. I think this is going to be Mrs. Frizzle. Ooh, there's a good costume idea. I guess at least they didn't go Mrs. Frizzle, but I almost feel like that might have fit. Because okay, so now I was right about what they were going to do with Matt Smith. Going to be a young man playing a very old character. I was kind of right about what they were going to do with Peter Capaldi, except I don't think they knew what they were going to do. So here's my 100% correct assumption for what they're going to do for her. I think they're going to de-age the show a little bit. I think they're going to bring it back to its roots a little and make it a little more for kids, which I'm totally on board for. That's how it started. I'm not as big a critic of Moffat as some people are, but the show completely went up its own vortex and came back out and went back in again. And so if the show gets a little more easy to understand, a little more forward, basic, simpler emotional beats, it draws in a younger audience, hooks them for the future, I think this is the time to do it. That being said, I might not continue to watch. Not because I'm mad, but just because, like, I'm old.
Like, it's
I don't
too
wanna,
basic?
Yeah, it's a little too basic. Like, I didn't really get into the Sarah Jane adventures, but I'm sure it's fine. Your thoughts? And put a new outfit on.
Hey, I think that even if it is basic, I'm going to watch it because I love Doctor Who.
Yeah, I probably will too.
And I think going more basic is a good way to go. And like you said, maybe it'll hook more viewers and get them in while they're young. Yeah,
because even the younger viewers are old viewers now. If this thing started in 2005 or whatever. So. Yeah. I mean the new one. Clearly.
Yeah.
The old young viewers are dead now. Or at least are very old. Back in my day, he was a mean guy. And he yelled at people. And he hated women. including his granddaughter. The really big news from the comic world right now is that Brian Michael Bendis, who I don't think he ever really had a title, but by all accounts was essentially the head writer and sort of an editor at large for Marvel Comics, is now DC exclusive.
Yes.
The guy behind many of the major storylines of the last 15 years, and the Ultimate Universe with Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate X-Men, many, if not all of which, have been adapted into the current Marvel Universe that we see on screens. He's DC now.
Yeah.
I have a lot of questions.
Like what?
Like, why so soon or why so late? Couldn't have done it years ago. No, also, why did Marvel let him go?
That's a good question.
Why? What is DC thinking? Are they thinking that he can do for them what he did for Marvel?
Probably.
Is Jeff Johns insane, or does he think he's just fully TV movie guy now, and so he's bringing Bendis in to be the new Jeff Johns?
I think that's possible.
These are all things you need to think about.
Yeah.
Because, and also, Bendis himself, he's coming on ostensibly to write comic books, but he himself has visions of being a television producer, what with Powers. He produced the cartoons, the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoons and stuff like that.
Sure.
So he definitely wants to move in that direction. So is it a situation where he tried to move up? He realized he realized he wasn't going to move up any higher in Marvel filmic properties. Like,
sure.
TV could only go so far. He couldn't get in at Netflix, and Kevin Feige's not going to let him come up into movies. So he's like, screw it. I'll just do. DC needs help. They need a lot of help. So I'll go see what's up over there.
And then we'll see how far he can get with DC.
There's already so many big personalities at DC. I just wonder how he's going to slot in there.
Yeah.
And it's a guy. This is like Sylvester Stallone playing the Terminator. You know what I mean? Like, he has been a Marvel guy when he wasn't doing indie books, some of which were owned by Marvel.
Yeah.
His entire career. This is Babe Ruth going to the Yankees. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, I don't even know. I mean, maybe we're making too big of a deal out of it. He's just a guy that writes comics, and he'll just write for DC now. But, this is one of those big switches. This is a Jim Shooter. Switch. This is this is a big deal.
It is a big deal.
This is Jim Lee going, going to Image, but going DC exclusive.
Yeah.
Ooh, a Bendis Lee book. That's coming. That's going to be announced any second now. I bet. Well, along the same line, it looks like DC, and I don't think anything's come out of it just yet, but DC is courting Jonathan Hickman as well.
Okay.
Who I call the good Bendis. He's also been instrumental recently, especially with Marvel's line-wide reboot of Secret Wars. That was all Hickman.
Okay.
And I hope this doesn't happen, because here's another story. I just like to put them all together in a big Shepherd News pie. Looks like Marvel had talks with Fox about possibly acquiring their superhero properties. Actually, Disney was in talks to buy the entire wing of Fox movies, like 20th Century Fox.
Yeah.
So that means movies, TV, everything. Fox apparently wants to divest themselves of the movie side and just do sports and news.
Yep.
Which, that's great. So basically, like, Disney will pay $10 billion to keep Fox News alive forever. And it's like, as much as I'd like to see Wolverine and Spider-Man fight with the Avengers,
yeah,
I think that might be too high of a price.
It might be.
But anyway, and you go like, well, it's successful. Like Spider-Man was, well, that's Sony, sorry. X-Men is successful. They're still going. They're still doing those. I think we talked about this on an earlier show. It's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
When you hear that a movie made $800 million, you're like, whoa. But yeah, but as far as like broadcast contracts and like advertiser revenue, all those mesothelioma commercials, it pales. It's nothing to just go out and spend. That's why they spend $120 million on a movie and then hope that it brings some money back. Because honestly, it's chump change.
Yeah.
Compared to the Sumner Redstone empire.
I agree.
Do you have thoughts?
I'm a little concerned about Disney buying out Fox's entertainment wing and then making way for more news.
Yeah.
in sports. I mean, not so much the sports, but especially the news, because I don't think that Fox needs to focus more energy on that. But
yeah.
But if it's going to happen, I hope that we get benefits of it, like we get to see the X-Men with the Avengers and stuff like that.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other. What do you get? What other Fox things? You might get
Fantastic Four, right?
Well, yeah. New Line, is it New Line? And who owns half of Lord of the Rings? Doesn't matter. They're trying to go to Amazon or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Did I say Sumner Redstone? That was totally wrong. It's the other guy. Sumner Redstone is the opposite of this guy. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
I'll think of it later. So we'll see what happens with that. At the very least, we'll get the at the beginning of Star Wars movies again, which is really important to some people. I'm like, I didn't even notice. I'm surprised that they still have the Lucasfilm thing on there. That must have been his thing. It's like, you give me $3.5 billion, and then, and the other thing is I got to see my name, but now it's silver instead of green,
right?
Because when you do the green, people think of Return of the Jedi. They didn't like that one. Even though I kind of directed it secretly. Rupert Murdoch, that's who I'm thinking of.
Okay.
They both have goofy names in their media mangates. What do you want?
Yeah.
What else are we looking at here? We talked about the DC Cinematic Universe, sort of. It looks like people, high-ups that is, in DC are saying that next year is going to be a reset.
A reset?
They're resetting already. They never even got it set, and now they're going to reset it. So they're going to do this Flash movie, which still doesn't have a director, and has probably changed a million times. And I think they've been kind of hip-pocketing it because they know that The Flash has this storyline by Jeff Johns called Flashpoint, which rewrites the universe. And so they made it. They made it to Justice League, which we will have a review of next week. And the advanced reviews are like, that's fine. It's fine. It's not great. It's fine.
Okay.
So it's fine is the best they ever got. That was the high water mark. They did everything they said they did. Now they can have this Flash movie, reboot it, get Affleck out of there because he clearly doesn't want to do it anymore. And for some reason, timey-wimey, he's got a new face and he's Ryan Gosling now or whatever.
Right.
And so they're looking to do that.
Okay. I'm kind of surprised that they're looking to do that so soon, but...
Yeah. Well, nothing surprises me about DC movies anymore. But we've got that. Speaking of other movie news, it looks like the director of Kong Skull Island, Jordan Vogt Roberts, will be doing that. He's bringing his writer back from Kong Skull Island to do the Metal Gear Solid movie.
Okay. How do you feel about that, Cal?
Because it's my favorite video game ever?
Yes.
I hope nobody criticizes it, or he is just going to snap. He's going to tear his beard out.
Does he not take criticism well?
No, he's the guy that went on a huge tirade because CinemaSins did a thing on Kong Skull Island, and he freaked out. Remember this?
No, I don't.
We talked about it on the show.
Okay.
And I know you're always paying attention on the show. And it's easy to drone. I drone on. It's easy to tune me out. And he freaked out. And it's like, this is like, I can't remember what his first movie was. Skateboarding movie or something like that. It's like, dude, this is the job. You do things, you have an idea, or you don't, or you're just a kid that a corporation asks to mind the store for a while they're gone, which is what you really are. But you have an idea, you make it, and if people don't like it, you go, I made the movie that I wanted to make.
Right.
Or in extreme cases, my star sexually harassed everybody and the studio, screwed me over, and you have a story. But he's just like, you can't do that. You can't say you don't like my movie.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, actually we can. That's literally what this is. And plus, don't get me wrong, I'm no fan of CinemaSins. I don't watch them at all, and I wish they were funnier, but I get that they are doing comedy more than criticism. They're just going for jokes.
Sure.
Which aren't funny enough a lot of the time. That's a different rant. But it's also like, you don't get mad at Weird Al when he makes a song parody of you.
No.
First of all, you gave him
It's
permission
a compliment.
to. Yeah. But exactly, you've made it now.
Yeah.
And this guy, just act like you've been there, dude. You think that people who feel strong, like myself, about this game are not going to criticize you whether or not you did a good job.
Right.
You have to develop the temperament to be in this business.
Yeah.
And get a haircut.
Thick skin.
Yeah, and with thick beard. That's my thoughts on that. What else? It looks like the Dark Universe is dead.
It's dead.
Well, that's what people are saying. Alex Kurtzman and Chris Morgan have departed for greener pastures.
Okay.
I don't think Alex Kurtzman leaving a project is the best news you can get. If Louis C.K. was working on something, and it was pretty much canceled and his career's over, and then Alex Kurtzman leaves, he's like, well, we've got that. I could jerk off to that.
Stop.
So anyway, more news as that falls apart. I don't think anybody's really... as long as they have Angelina Jolie as an anchor for the Bride of Frankenstein thing, I think they're okay. But
okay.
when she's gone, she's the queen rat. Like, when she's gone, it's over.
Okay.
Because she will stick with something. Like, I think it was probably clear, weeks into Maleficent that was not going to work out.
Yeah.
And yet she was like, no, this is like my thing. Like, it's going to be, I'm the head of this thing. Let's do it.
Right.
Maybe she's learned from that. And so we'll see what happens with that. What else? Amazon has ordered The Boys to pilot.
What is The Boys?
The Boys is a Garth Ennis comic book that's even worse than Preacher. And I don't think Amazon exactly knows what they've bought here. And the same team, Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg and Eric Kripke, the Supernatural guy, are going to develop it for a series.
Okay.
It is it's like a superhero deconstruction type thing, but it's full on Garth Ennis.
Okay.
Yeah, the whole way.
All right. Well, that could be okay, I guess.
That's the review. Megan Hanna of the Just Enough podcast says that could be okay, I guess. Some big Star Wars news. It looks like Rian Johnson, director of Last Jedi, is going to be developing an entirely new trilogy for the future.
That's huge.
He'll be the main creative director for it, and then he will direct the first film. So he's the new J.J. Abrams.
Yeah, he is.
So my question is, where's J.J. Abrams going? Gone Fishing 2? Oh, no, Gone Fishing reboot. See, Danny Glover comes up with a new bait. It's a red matter bait.
Oh, boy.
And when they try to fish it, they go back in time, and then they have to, like, their younger selves, Kevin Hart and David Krumholtz, I don't know. They're like, no, don't fish like that. You got to fish like this. And they're like, well, I guess we'll try to fish it our own way. That's the Kelvin Universe, Gone Fishing.
There you go.
Try that one out. Yeah, so that's a big deal. Also, Disney has finally pulled the trigger on a live-action Star Wars TV series. Bob Iger, the Disney CEO, has announced this recently. Yep. It's set to launch in 2019 on, guess what? Their new streaming service.
Streaming service?
That's right. Which, according also to Bob Iger, this was a big conference call or whatever that we got all this information from. It will be substantially less than Netflix.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say substantial is to Bob Iger, a man who uses solid
substantially
gold
less,
toilet paper?
I don't know.
Very cold.
$6.99 or $5.99.
Yeah, that's probably what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. They'll keep on
substantially.
Well, they got to
less.
keep on pace with CBS All Access.
That's right.
I joke, but is kind of the industry leader right now as far as single network streaming services go.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Hey, we were talking about comic book adaptations. Here's another one. It looks like Deadly Class has got its full cast set up now. We talked about Sci-Fi tapping Deadly Class. I think this is a horrible idea. This has to be an R-rated show, and if it's going to be Sci-Fi, that's not going to be great. And Sci-Fi, everything's terrible that they do. It doesn't matter. Doesn't worry. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And so we got the whole cast. I would tell you who these people are, but I don't know any of them.
So it's a bunch of nobodies.
Yep. It's Benedict Wong, who's not a nobody, I'll have you know, who will be playing Master Lin, the sort of head of the evil Professor X in this school.
Okay.
And there's a lot of first-timers, introducings, Teen Wolf stars, people who will be in, things that are coming up soon. But that's pretty much it. TV pilots. Like one kid was in the TV pilot adaptation of Let the Right One In, which I'm assuming did not go forward to series.
Okay.
Because why do you got to take like a good movie and just like beat it into the ground?
I don't know.
Bad American remake, TV version. What is this? Alice's Restaurant? Nailed it. And speaking about adapting comic books to TV, it looks like the Umbrella Academy show at Netflix is moving forward, and Ellen Page has been tapped for one of the leads.
I heard about that. Yeah.
I don't know.
Not terribly excited about that.
Not a huge fan of her. But it's probably good because I think they're guessing, bring an audience.
Yeah.
Also, if they're going to stay true to the comic book, Vanya, the character that she's playing, no spoilers, isn't exactly like part of the team. If they're like the creepy X-Men,
yeah,
she's not really on the team. She's kind of a foil like character.
Sure.
Which might be a good spot for her.
I could see that.
Also, too old. I get that she looks young, but you can't keep doing that forever.
Yeah.
But that also works for this character as well.
Okay.
So one of these days, probably when the show comes out, read the Umbrella Academy for the show.
Okay.
But it will not be this day. What other news are we looking at here? It looks like Richard Dreyfuss exposed. No, we already talked about that. It's all terrible. I don't know what else to really tell you. What do you think about this Star Wars news, though?
The Rian Johnson thing?
I mean, well, I'm sorry, I asked you. You told me.
Well, I think it could be good. I'm not exactly sure why they announced it before the release of episode 8 has happened.
They're so sure. It's a vote of confidence.
It is a vote of confidence.
He has produced something so remarkable that they just have to let you know that they're going all the way with this guy.
Yeah. I guess my question would be, if this new trilogy, is this going to have anything to do with previous trilogies?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it would have to. I think the smart move is no.
Yeah.
Fast forward 100 years, 1,000 years.
Right.
Do something completely different.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Like Lucas always threatened us with a 9-part, movie or story. We're kind of getting that now. We like Rey and Finn and all these guys, and we'd like to see them go on. But
yeah,
let's do it. Let's bring the Skywalker saga to its conclusion, and then just move on.
I would be okay with that.
Yeah, they've shown a propensity to want to mine some of the good content from the extended universe. Go back.
Yeah.
Go to the grand age of the old Jedi, and they're fighting Siths and stuff like that. And because that's really like, they seem to like, that's what they did with the prequels. They're like, oh, you want Jedi wars and all these guys going on. It's not really the era. Like, I feel like the EU created all that because it doesn't exist in this era where everything's kind of burned out and you've got like one Jedi left, and just going back 19 years like isn't enough to like suddenly we've got 1 million Jedi, but now we got to get rid of them.
Right.
So there's like a weird clone army that like also wants to kill Jedi, and none of it.
Right.
It's all writing to a point.
Uh-huh.
My thing is, I want to go back to announcing this right now. It's a vote of confidence, but you don't need a vote of confidence for Star Wars.
No, you don't.
Yeah, you could release a thing that Rian Johnson, pushed a bunch of school kids like in front of a train or something like that, and people would go see The Last Jedi no matter what.
Right.
So you don't have to do this thing where it's like a savvy move where people are gonna get excited about that, so they're gonna go to the theater. If anything, and I'm sure Jedi will be fine, but let's look at like the 0.0001% chance that it's not going to be any good.
Right.
Because you've got this guy who's made a couple small movies, and you didn't learn your lesson with Trevorrow. You didn't learn your lesson with Lord and Miller, apparently.
Right.
Like, you didn't learn your Josh Trank lesson. So now they're doubling down on this guy. What if it is bad? Now you've got yourself locked into a 3-picture deal, and I'm sure he'll be involved creatively with the TV show going forward with this guy when all you want to do is back away. And so you'll have to back out of this thing.
Right.
Why not wait until like 12:01 a.m. after on Thursday night, after Christmas, like the first preview screening has come out, the embargo's lifted, Or even like the week before, if you have critic screenings, I'm sure they will, and the embargo's lifted, and people are like, it's great, it's totally awesome, I can't wait for what's coming up in the future for this Johnson kid.
Right.
Then you go, well, guess what? You've already done the deal. You just kind of kept it quiet, and you kept you wrote it in pencil, and you'll do it in ink later.
Right.
Or Link later. Get him in to do a Star Wars movie. And then you announce it. Did you like that? Well, you're going to cream your jeans now. Check this out. We've got a whole new trilogy with this guy.
Right.
But instead you do it beforehand, and I'm not a Hollywood executive, so I don't know why that was apparently a smart move. But I think my move was smart. Because it's Star Wars. We're going to watch it. You don't need to keep people like, you're going to have these tacos, but we've got prime rib tomorrow night. It's like, well, I want to eat these tacos. I don't want to hear about tomorrow's meal.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me eat the tacos, Disney. Help me. I'm hungry.
There's no time for us. There's no place for us.
All right, well, usually we would do our movie review here and save Comic Book Club for the end, but I think we'll do Comic Book Club now because the movie's an adaptation of the comic.
I agree.
In fact, we could probably just fold them together.
Okay.
So you're going to hear a review of the first volume of Blade of the Immortal, entitled Blood of 1,000 right now. Then we'll start talking about Blade of the Immortal, the movie. No spoilers or warnings, I guess, for the comic because it's been out for almost 20 years. But we will let you know when the spoiler review starts for Blade of the Immortal. Got it?
Got it.
Good. Let's begin.
Let's
begin with the story of a man in Japan.
Manji.
It's got a plan.
Yeah.
And some flan. Perhaps you're not rhyming. You're not rhyming with me. What happens in Blade of the Immortal?
Blade of the Immortal is about Manji, who basically there's this woman.
He's a neo-Nazi.
No. Stop it right there.
Well, it was tough to make a neo-Nazi character sympathetic, but I think they really they pull it off.
Stop. So he has this symbol, this Manji symbol, and it looks similar to...
It's not similar. It is.
It is the
it's
same
a swastika.
as a swastika.
Right.
But that's not what it means.
And the beginning of every... So I bought this when it was on the stands, the floppies. And at the beginning of every issue, they take great... And there was... I don't feel like there was ever a big outcry. There would be now.
Yeah.
And that's why it's changed in the film, and we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But there's a big thing in the beginning of the book that says right away, hey, this is not what we're doing here. I mean, the artist made an interesting choice. He didn't have to do this. But yeah, this symbol is sometimes called the Manji. That's where he gets his name from.
Yep.
It's also, and this is a problem when you sometimes take art from Japan to
and
here,
you
flip it. Yeah, so it's pointing the other way, the arms. It's like a reverse. It's called the swastika instead of the swastika. But American viewer just sees
a swastika.
Nazis, yeah. But the idea is that it's, whereas the swastika was chosen specifically by Hitler, for its Aryan overtones, it represents, like the sun, that sort of thing. This is supposed to be like a symbol of the moon and like the night and magic, and it's supposed to be kind of mysterious.
Right, like
also
him.
It's called the Crux Gamata sometimes, yeah. And so he picked it. Also, this character has a dual nature, so like half of his kimono is white and half is black, and then the symbol is reversed as well, black and white, like you're on a Frank Gorshin Star Trek episode. And so, yeah. And so every issue goes, that's not what it is.
Right.
And I don't feel like when I read it, I ever had anybody go, what are you reading? But I always had that. I had that chambered. I had that. I just gave it to you. I just pulled it out of its holster. But that's the explanation for that.
Yep.
So we're all good now.
Yep.
Okay, say Kyle, everybody. Say Kyle.
Stop.
No, sorry. Please continue. Manji.
Manji, and there's this 800-year-old nun named Yabukuni, who gives him bloodworms.
Oh, you can take a pill for that. Ivermectin.
I don't think you can.
Oh.
And he has to, in order to, these bloodworms give him immortality. And in
He's
order,
like a grosser Wolverine.
yes,
Yeah.
and in order to gain his mortality back, he has to kill 1,000 evil men.
Yeah. Well, you're putting the murder cart before the horse here.
I am.
Yeah. Like what happens? How does he get to be this way?
Well, he gets to be this way because he accidentally kills his sister's husband in front of her.
Whoops.
Whoops. And then his sister goes crazy.
Double whoops.
Yep.
And then he eats shit.
Then he looks after her.
Then he literally eats a piece of shit.
Yeah.
You got the whoops hat trick there.
Yep.
You're a real whoops turkey. Whoops turkey. Title of the episode. Yeah, right. And I think part of it is like he's a fighter guy and he gets in fights. And he's always he's that guy who's just, he's born under a bad sign. This one's the guy. And he's just always getting into fights. And he's got to protect his sister who is now she's lost her capacity. She's just, she can't take care of herself. And
she's like, "Look, Manji,
yeah,
it's
right.
a bean cake."
Yeah.
No,
And it's a turd.
It's a turd.
And I think that the movie hits this a little harder. I guess we're talking about it now. In that, like, he kind of does this because he wants to care for her. Actually, the movie reverses it because... All right, we'll get to that later. Don't try to put your movie in your comics. Stop it. But yeah, because he's got to take care of her and stay alive. So, yeah, good news.
Yep.
Good news that he is on our side. But anyway, the other half of the story is that we meet a girl named Rin.
Yes.
Who is a young girl. She's 14 years old. And her father is the head of a
dojo.
School. Yeah, a sword school. We should say that all this takes place around the time of the end of the Meiji Restoration. It never really gets explicit about years, but a character later on says that he's over 200 years old, and he fought like during the Warring States, the Muromachi, which would put that on the other side of the Edo period. So this is like end of Edo period, kind of start of Meiji Restoration.
Right.
You don't see a lot of guns, but you wouldn't just yet.
No.
Although when we were watching the movie, I was like, a gun would solve all this, and then guns do show up at some point.
They
in the
do,
film, but we'll talk about that later. So Rin is having a life as a young girl. She's having a good time. Everything's great. And then her father is brutally murdered, and her mother is savaged and kidnapped by the members of the Ito-Ryo school.
Yeah.
Who are like the badass punks. They're bad dudes. And they believe in the fact that they think that all sword schools, schools in general are bullshit, man. And everybody should be able to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And they kind of had a point. I think when we talked about Lone Wolf and Cub, that this was a time of kind of foppishness where there hadn't been conflict or battle for a long time. And so every town had a dozen different schools are like, we'll teach you the secret moves, and like,
right.
And it's like going to Taekwondo, sending your kid to Taekwondo. Like, there's not really a lot there. And so their thing is like, they're like punks basically. They're like hipster samurai. They're like, no, this is authentic, real stuff. We're gonna throw this country back into chaos, and we're gonna see who survives, and like that's gonna be the thing.
Right.
So they're going around and killing everybody. They kill her father, and 2 years go by real fast in a couple panels.
Yeah.
And she has been trying to train herself, but she kind of sucks, and she realizes that she needs like a yojimbo. She needs somebody to protect her and also take these dudes out, because she swears revenge on them.
Yeah.
And Yabakuni, that little busybody, she hooks her up with this guy named Manji. Yep. Who is the guy that you talked about.
Yes.
We've got our Lone Wolf and Babe.
Yeah.
It's Lone Wolf and Babe. And so, yeah, we read the first sort of volume, which is that origin story. I've read this for so many years. I can't even remember what's in the first volume. What's at the end? How does it end? Does it just end with them fighting Sabakuroi?
Yeah. At the end, she goes to this guy's house who is a friend of her father's.
The artist?
The artist.
Okay, that is in this volume. Okay.
Yeah.
I really like that story.
Yeah.
I think I like that better than the first one.
Yeah.
So what happens in this first one? So let's talk about when Manji and Rin get together.
Sure.
So she shows up to find this guy. His sister is dead.
Yes.
Oh, we're doing a really bad job. So yeah, he is not. I mean, he's not. I guess he's a samurai. Technically, he's in a samurai family. He
Yeah.
works for this lord, and the lord has him going out and killing people. Which already it's like, well, Manji, just quit. I know, like you can't really quit, but
Right.
it takes a few more steps for him to become an outlaw. But he's killing these people that apparently owe him money. But apparently that's not. He finds out that's not what was going on. His lord was like laundering or skimming off the top or whatever, and he was having Manji kill people to silence them.
Yeah.
So Manji immediately turns around and kills his lord, taking like street justice to his lord. And
Yep.
of course he gets in trouble, and they send the cops after him. The Bafuku. I used to know all these terms, but anyway. So Manji ends up killing a lot of cops just in self-defense.
Sure.
And the last one he kills is his wife's husband, who is a cop,
Yes.
which leads to his wife losing her mind. And so Manji's got to take care of her. And then, totally randomly, but we got to get this story started somehow, these punks show up looking for the 100 Killer, which is what Manji's called because he killed 100 people defending himself.
Yeah.
And so they kidnap his sister,
Machi.
Machi, and she's there's this kind of scene. It's the problem of like, what do you want? Do you want an origin story or do you want an epic? So I feel like
Right.
they blow through the origin story real fast.
Yeah.
In the movie, again, talking about the movie, they try to make that make sense by I think it's the same actress, but they really play up like, oh, yeah, I look like your sister, so that's why you're going to help me.
Right.
That's not really in the comic book at all. We just kind of forget that he ever really had a sister
Yeah.
after she goes. But yeah, these bad guys kill her in front of Manji, and then he's like, all right, well, here we go. I'm going to kill you. And he kills him, and then that's when he kind of makes this deal, which also it's not really part of the book, where he says, I'm going to kill 1,000 bad guys to make up for the 100 good guys that I killed.
Yeah.
And then, you're going to take these worms out of me and let me die.
Right.
None, because it's pain. Life is pain for me.
Yeah.
And we should talk about the artist and writer, Hiroaki Samura, who is clearly, even at this point, just incredibly talented.
Yes.
I looked up his background a little bit, and he did not start as a manga artist, as a lot of guys do. As you can imagine, the edifice of manga illustration is huge.
Yes.
It's even more huge and sort of rigid than comics are here. And so, you want to be a manga artist, you start young.
Yeah.
You start in a school that's probably connected to like a company, and you move your way up like that. And he just started as a classical artist.
Yeah.
And he was into like oil painting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But apparently he hated like painting with
Oil
oils.
painting? Yeah.
And I guess they smelled bad. So he actually, and he's very honest about this in interviews, like he got somebody to help him cheat. I don't know how they help you cheat on art, but like he basically
you paint for me.
yeah,
or
I
something?
guess you're right. Yeah. And so he got through art school that way, except he never finished because the magazine that Blade of the Immortal was originally published in sort of discovered him, and then they were off to the races after that.
Yeah.
And so he was doing that. So yeah, he did this until from 93 or so until 2012 was all Blade of the Immortal.
Yep.
So that's pretty much the main body of his work. He's also done some work in a genre that's called Iroguro. Don't look it up. Don't look it up. It's not.
Okay.
You don't want to know.
Okay.
You don't want to see it.
That's-
It's just one of those things where you go, oh, Japan. Oh, Japan. All right. Anyway. But you can enjoy this.
Yes.
It's great. And he uses, again, beautiful illustration that looks ready for paint. Like if you were going to do this and then you'd, bring the oils in, bring the tempera in.
Right.
And they do. Some of his, I think he paints, or maybe got somebody to do it for him. A lot of the color covers are, color painted and are beautiful. But yeah, and I think that his style works well for this. It is very realistic. He never really even, sometimes but not often, he doesn't do that thing where manga artists will go suddenly cartoony to like express something.
Right.
Like he keeps it pretty solid.
Yeah.
Even when somebody's going, oh, like, or
Sweat
like,
drops.
yeah, right. He doesn't really do that. And I like that. I mean, I don't hate that. I'm used to that as a trope in manga, but I like this.
Yes.
And he also shows a lot of restraint. There's not a terrible Woody Allen creepy amount, but there's, a running thread of the fact that Rin is, getting older and she's becoming a woman, and she's sort of putting... She only ever wants... So the movie has her like, I'm going to train real hard to be a sort... That was... In the book, she never cared about that sort of thing.
Okay.
She was just a girl that wanted to grow up and have pretty dresses and just be a woman. And that's been sidetracked now. But she is kind of discovering herself, as a adult woman as we go on. And Samura never gets too weird about it. There is a sort of erotic suggestion in the way that he draws her sometimes. But it never gets like... Oh, and then she had to take a bath.
Right.
Let's watch her take a bath.
I can appreciate that it doesn't get that like that.
Yeah.
I also think it's interesting that they didn't flip the art for this because he didn't want it flipped. So they cut and paste.
Right.
And
yeah.
organized the
Yeah, Dark Horse
panels.
was sort of your main manga source in the aughts, and they would often do that.
So I think that's really interesting too. I can appreciate too that they don't over-sexualize Rin in general, and that
She's pretty young. We try not to
she's pretty young.
sexualize her.
Yeah, and they don't really suggest that her and Manji are a thing.
No, although it's not really in this volume. There is a real... Samura becomes more confident as a scripter as he goes.
Sure.
And I think at this point he's just doing manga, and later on he starts doing a story, like a long-form story.
Sure.
Because you have the thing where, every volume we're going to fight the guy. This isn't my true form. You haven't seen my skills yet, and then they kill him, and then some kind of like comedic thing, and we're out.
Right.
And you get that in this too, because it's part of because he's a rogue, a roguish figure, but like, the movie's like, oh, I'm helping you because you look like my sister. In this, he saves her from the first guy, he kills him, and they're kind of recovering, and he's like, yeah, I can't let anybody hurt you because when you get older, I'm going to sell you as a whore. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, what are you talking? Is he just messing with her or what?
I don't know.
I think he is, because he never does
I think
anything.
He is too.
Later on in the series. But this is the thing that this is another needle you got to thread. As they grow up, just naturally, he's a sort of dashing character, and she's a young girl who's getting into boys, that she does kind of develop a thing for him.
Okay, sure.
But even in spite of herself, she's like, he never takes a bath, and he's so gross, but I can fix him. You know what I mean? It's like that sort of thing. And so they show that in the movie too, where like Manji, uses the pretense of like when they're going to fight Maki, he's like, oh, I'm going to go off with this whore. And he doesn't say like, I'm going to go pretend like I'm going to go off with this whore so I can get her in the alleyway and kill her because she wants to kill us.
Right.
And Rin doesn't understand the subtext, so she's like, what does he want to... Am I not enough for him? Like, you get this weird sort of triangle where the third X is just whatever's happening right now in Rin's mind.
Right.
Which is handled really well, I thought.
Yeah.
For a guy that draws Guro comics. Don't look it up. I wish I hadn't looked it up. So anyway, and I wanted to mention, give special attention to the very anime-ish kind of thing that he does in every issue when Manji defeats the guy. There's this giant splash page that looks like, like a very detailed print or something like that you'd see on the wall of a Shogun. It's got weird characters and there's birds flying away that come from nowhere. Or even like when she does her golden wasps move, it's like, oh, there's petals of a chrysanthemum flying through the air. Everybody gets a little anime when they yell out their special move, but it's not Ranma. We're not doing that.
No. Because that's all like made up martial arts.
Yeah. Let's blow through some of the opponents here. There are some really fantastic opponents, some of whom you've already met in the movie, and we'll talk about those later. But who does they fight in this first book?
They fight... I can't remember his name, but he's got these ladies' heads.
Oh, well, you've jumped right to it.
Yep.
No lead burying on this one.
Sorry.
I'm going to take that lead. I'm going to sew it to my shoulder.
Yep. He's got ladies' heads sewn to his shoulders.
Why?
Because
Why?
he's a weirdo.
He is a weirdo.
one of them is his ex-wife, and the other one is Rin's mother.
Yeah. So I guess before that, well, actually, you know what? I think you do. I think we see him in a flashback, because spoiler, he gets killed in this, but
Yeah.
we see him in a flashback, and he's only got one head on his shoulder when he's like talking to, what's his name? Anatsu.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's
Gotta
still,
have this head.
It's still weird.
And I want to kill you so I can cut off my wife's head,
And
get that
put
old bag
a-
out of there,
Yeah,
and then put you on my shoulder, and then I'm going to have a mother-daughter three-way,
because that's
shoulder
great.
style.
And they're covered.
Not a huge loss to the world, this guy.
Yeah. They're covered with fabric, but they can still, like, talk.
No,
No?
I think that's a hallucination.
Is it?
It has to be.
Okay.
There's no magic. This is a real-world situation.
Okay.
There's no magic or anything.
Okay. Never mind
This is
then.
grittily real, except for bloodworms, which
Except for bloodworms.
aren't even treated like magic. It's it's treated like in fact there's an extended storyline way later in the series where Manji gets captured by this guy, and the guy tries to apply scientific principles because now we've heard about this guy, and Manji doesn't. Keep your mouth shut, dude. He tells everybody he meets about these bloodworms, and so they're trying to like transfer the bloodworms, see if they can transfer them to another person, so they can create like
Sure. An
a
army.
immortal army. Yeah,
Okay.
but he takes this guy out, and everybody's got special powers, or at least techniques. And this guy's technique
Yeah.
is he can turn his body all the way around.
Yes.
All right.
Like an owl.
Are you going to make it through one issue? Oh, you're not. Okay. Not a very good power. That guy goes away real fast. And he, of course, already has 3 parts, so he gets split into 3 parts when Manji does his splash page kill. I still love the kill where he kills the guy. The guy has just killed his sister or whatever, and Manji does the thing where Manji's superpower, the one sort of addition that's unrealistic, the concession to unreality, is that he can carry 14 swords in his kimono.
Yes.
and when he gets really mad, he goes, and he's like, all the blades just fall out.
Yes.
And so he's like, all right, buddy, you want to die? You're going to die. Let's see if I can still do 100. Keep your eyes on the blades. And then he just
Yeah.
the guy just comes apart. And as the guy's falling apart, he's like, I couldn't. Dude, he's dead. Yeah, so he kills Rin. And something that I liked about the thing with Rin is that it isn't just, you bastard, you killed my parents. And it's like, whoa, what are you going to do? Ha, ha, ha. And then Manji comes in and is like, I don't think so. And then kills him. The things that are going on are complicated.
Yeah.
Because, yes, they took the mother away and probably horribly raped her
Yes.
unto death. And this guy was like, cut her head off and put it on his shoulders, which is terrible, but in his mind is an act of mercy and love.
Yes.
Because he was ending her pain in his mind, and then also he's going to treasure her. And
Yeah.
now he wants to end her daughter's life, who is not having a great life.
No.
So in this guy's like twisted mind, this all makes sense.
Well, and he's been writing
And he's been
Rin
writing love poems to
poems,
her. Exactly. Yeah.
And which is also super creepy.
Right. And so Rin is a child.
Yes.
Well, not in
She's
Arkansas, but
14,
16 at this
16.
point. Yeah.
Yeah.
But she's a child, and so she hates this guy. She hates these people, but she's immediately stymied by the fact that this guy is huge. He's psychologically attacking her by showing her mother's head, and she basically like doesn't know how to get out of this situation. And he's basically saying, "Look,
Right.
I'll make you a deal because I know you hate me, even though I love you." Weird gaslight.
Yeah.
If you kill yourself, I'll kill myself, after I've stuffed your head and put it on my thing. And then
Yeah.
we'll all, be on the slopes of Mount Yomi together or whatever. And Rin's like actually thinking about taking him up on it simply because,
Then this guy will be dead.
yeah, she's realizing that, and the series really emphasizes this, and the movie does as well, and we'll get to it, that it's one thing to go, I hate you all and I'm going to kill you. It's another thing to like, why are you going to make that happen? And she's starting to realize how
Yeah.
impossible this task might be.
Right.
And she doesn't even know about the bloodworms at this point. She's just hired Manji. She hasn't seen him fight.
Yeah.
So like she's kind of thinking about taking this deal.
Yeah.
Because at least she'll get one. And then Manji comes in, does his thing, gets his legs cut off because it's Tuesday in Manji world.
Yeah.
And beats the guy. And then Manji has to kind of yell at her a little bit. And he's like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
You hired me. I got my legs chopped off. You hired me for a reason. Are you really serious about this or not? And he doesn't know that he is fanning a flame that is going to consume all of Japan. Or at least a lot of people. Will lead to a lot of dead people.
That's right.
Think about it.
Possibly
Think about it.
1,000 evil people.
Possibly 1,000. Real quick, let's talk about the artist at the end. I think a lot of people probably don't like this and think about it as like a departure, like where are we going with this?
Uh-huh.
It doesn't have a really good villain. It's just got a big nose guy with a spear.
Sure.
He's not as memorable or flamboyant as other people that Manji will fight later, but
Sure.
I like it because it continues to establish the reality of this world and also the moral ambiguity of this world. Because they meet this guy who is a good friend of her Rin's father.
dad.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he's an artist now. He's a rich guy. He's an artist. We also learn in the course of the story that he's not just an artist. He was like the head of the Shogun's ninja until he like quit.
Yeah.
So he's like an amazing fighter. He's better than Manji. If they could turn this guy around, you know, maybe we'd have a shot at this. And that's kind of what they're going to him and going, look, you know, can you help out? You want to avenge your friend? And he's like, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? This is honor. And he's like, I don't really care. I don't care about that. I just don't want to do it. I'm into painting now. I feel bad, and I hope it works out for you, but I'm not going to help you. And you're like, that's not what would usually happen in a story like this.
Right.
Like, we are gathering allies here, and this guy's like, forget about it. I'm not going to do it. And he's self-serving, but without even knowing they're doing it, they find a way to play into that because they're staying at his house. He will give them some money.
Yeah.
That's fine. So they're staying at his house, and the Itoriu guys like tracking Rin down because she's been walking all over town. You know, she's not very secretive.
No.
And they attack, and they fight Manji and Rin. And one of the guys like accidentally breaks this painting that the painting guy has been working on all this time.
Yeah.
And he's like, gets really mad, and then he joins the fight.
Yeah.
And it's another awesome. He gets the amazing dissection scene in this instead of Manji, but there's this just great amazing scene where the guy has done this trick where everybody's got their little secret tricks where he's like basically hooked Manji to a tree, and like it's like the more you struggle, the more like the hooks bite into your flesh, so he can't get away. And he's got Rin down, and he's gonna stab her with his spear, and then like out of nowhere he's like, and then I'm gonna, and he's been stabbed in the throat, and he's like, I don't know how he says this, but he's like, can somebody tell me who the hell did that? You turn around and it's the artist guy. And he's like, anybody who treats art like a doormat is not welcome in my house. And he just, and the guy's just, he turns away. And it's like, don't look at explosions, you know? He just walks away, badass. And there's just like a cloud of like limbs falling down where the guy was. And then, of course, the connection is he's been, you know, he's secretly still loves battle or loves, you know, killing. Like you can take the tiger out of the forest, not the forest out of the tiger. So he's been painting and he's been looking for this shade of red. I wonder where this is going to go. And so, you know, some blood gets on his canvas and he's like, that's it. Like so he finds a way to morally, but also commercially justify it to himself is that they've made all these corpses, these people that have attacked him. He will buy the corpses from them. And then he can like give them a lot of money, but also sort of justify it in his new sort of philosophy, which is this sort of mercenary, you know, or at least mercantile philosophy.
Yes.
And then that guy never comes back.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a story that we wanted to tell. That's why I think that Samura is doing something amazing here, and this is more than your usual Jidaigeki sort of story.
Sure.
And a Rio is a lot of money.
Yeah.
A Rio is 1 gold piece. And, you know, technically it's said to be like the amount of rice that could feed a man for a year. That's what a Rio is worth. But that worth fluctuates. So it's estimated that like in the Edo period, or at the beginning of the Edo period, a Rio would be worth about 100,000 yen.
Okay.
Which would be $10,000.
Yeah.
Right. And then by the end of like the Meiji period, a Rio would be worth maybe 3,000 or 4,000.
Okay.
Which would be like $30.
Okay.
So, like, at the time, we don't really know exactly when this is, but if you put it in the middle and say it's maybe 50,000 yen, he gives him like 3,000 Rio. That's like $18,000.
Yeah.
Like, they're set now.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah, for the next couple storylines, money is not going to be a problem for them.
Right.
But it does become a problem later.
Of course.
It certainly does. Any other thoughts about the comic?
I think it's beautifully drawn.
Yeah.
I really like the way that he draws Manji as well. Manji has a very distinct scar over his nose.
Yeah.
And over is it his left or right eye?
Depends on how it's flipped, but it's his right eye.
Yeah.
On the left side.
His right eye. So he's very distinct looking.
Yeah, it's the kind of art that colorizing it, like if they had finished it, would only hurt it.
Yeah.
You know, it's completely belongs in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just the pencil lines and everything. It's really beautiful. It for the most part only gets better going forward. Would you recommend this book?
I would absolutely 100% recommend this book.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I enjoyed it.
I think that, yeah, I really do as well. So I read it, like I said, I read it off the shelf in like the mid-aughts when Dark Horse was publishing it issue by issue. And then, I can't remember exactly when, I think at the late aughts, they stopped publishing it monthly and then just published it in volumes, which I think it was where everybody was buying it anyway.
Okay.
And so it finally wrapped up in 2012, and I did not make it all the way.
Okay.
Just it was going for 15 years.
Right.
But reading this, I think I'm going to get back into it.
Okay,
I think I'm
cool.
going to have to. Yeah, I want to know how it turns out.
Yeah.
I think it gets a little... Once he stops kind of writing to the trade and it just starts to open up, it gets a little... Where are we going with this?
Sure.
And you can see that he wanted to expand as a writer or in his stories as well, because he does this one shot that's like 3 issues. There's like the origin story. There's 3 issues. Then he does the artist thing, which is 1 issue. The next arc is like maybe 5 issues, I think.
Okay.
And the arc after that is like 7 or 8, maybe 9. It's called On Silent Wings. Then he does a arc called Wind Song, where Maki comes in, and that's like 13 issues long.
Okay.
So he's certainly like, no, I have more longer stories I want to tell. This isn't just going to be, I can turn my body around. You're dead. You're a whore. Like, that's the end.
Right.
Not doing that. Should we talk about what we're going to talk about next time on Comic Book Club?
Sure.
So we recently just did, or just talked about Justice League. So
Yes.
it feels... We did Grant Morrison's Justice League, which is a good Justice League.
Yes.
And so I thought, I mean, it just makes sense to do Justice League, since we'll be reviewing Justice League, the movie, next week.
Sure.
So let's do that, but let's flip the script a little bit. And we'll do something that is probably the polar opposite of what you'd think of as being Justice DC Universe. Do you bleed? Can I have a Jolly Rancher? You have any more of those?
Oh my God.
That kind of Justice League. And that would be Justice League International.
Okay.
Written by Keith Giffen and illustrated by J.M. DeMatteis. And it is funny Justice League.
Okay.
It's goofy Justice League. Keith Giffen is he's a goofy guy. He's a goofy. He writes goofy stuff.
All right.
And so he got on Justice League, and it's like, what do you do? Well, how do you take these huge heroes and make them? So he's like, I don't care. I'm just going to make it funny. Like, I'm going to take Superman, Wonder Woman, all of these characters have their own stuff going on in their books, so they're all off taking care of their own lives, and instead this is all the rejects and like the B team members, and there's been more than one Justice League Unlimited episode like this where it's like, John's here, but everybody else is like, who's this? Who's that? Like, who's this guy? And let's add a funny, bent on it. And that's what it is. So we'll be doing that, the first collected volume of Justice League International, next time on Comic Book Club.
Want to live forever.
Okay, so done with that. Now let's talk about the new film that is out in probably select theaters. I know
Yeah.
it is because I saw it. Blade of the Immortal. What's Blade of the Immortal? Don't answer that. I'm just kidding. It's released theatrically in the States by Warner Brothers, who's betting on this one, and it's got a theme song.
Yeah.
Live to Die Another Day, which sounds like a Bond film song, but it's
does.
not. And it's sung by Miyavi, which sounds like somebody who would sing a Bond film song, but it's not.
It does.
What is the movie about? I mean, I guess we know what it's about, but how does it relate to the manga, would you say? What are the changes that have been made?
It's pretty closely tied to the manga, at least the first volume, from what I can tell.
Yeah.
The origin story. It follows Manji. Wow. It's off to a great start.
Yeah.
Follows Manji and Rin. And it pretty closely tells how they met.
Yeah.
And another thing is, and then they kill guys from the Ito-Ryo school, kind of like one by one.
Right.
It seems
I'm not sure actually how
very-
long this review will be, so maybe we'll just say, would you recommend it?
I would absolutely recommend it.
I would recommend it as well. No real reservations, except for like a lot of if you liked 13 Assassins, which is Miike's earlier movie. He's making samurai movies now, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're gonna love this.
Yeah.
If you love the comic book, you'll like this.
Yeah.
That's a friend of mine is a big Blade of the Immortal and manga fan, and she asked me I'm a big fan. Is it good? And I was like, you'll like it. And then
Yeah.
a guy who wasn't, I was like, you'll love it. You'll like it. And that's it. Now, spoilers. This is just, a distillation of the first 4 volumes, basically, into one
Okay.
story. And then also, because my thing is, as I was watching it, I was like, what a great TV show this would be. Why am I watching this in a movie? You've skipped that part. You've skipped that part. I understand that part's not really that important, but it's still a great part. You're just, this is a skeleton that's like, I'm cold. There's not a lot on this story. You've got to get from point to point to point, and then you have to invent an ending that's not actually really the
An
ending of
ending.
the comic books in order to end this movie. When my thing is, sure, it was hard to get the movie made in the first place. I can't believe it took this long. Apparently, and I don't really know the story behind it, but apparently, I guess nobody must believe in this film, right? It took.
I guess so.
It took Takashi Miike to make this film.
Yep.
He's of course he's kind of a weird guy. He started off making these really weird movies, like Audition, and like Dead or Alive, just movies that were Ichi the Killer.
Sure.
He made these sort of slashy, grindhousey Japanese films, and he's all grown up now because now he's just making these costume period dramas, which also have a ton of blood and cutting in them.
Yeah.
But it's not anything all that weird anymore. And you really could have turned up the weird in this. And this just feels
Yeah.
like a action samurai movie to me.
Yes.
And this is literally a movie where a guy has sewn a girl's mom's head to his shoulder.
Yes.
And it doesn't really get all that weird.
No.
It just it's pretty straightforward.
It's kind of like a Zatoichi film.
Ish. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think the changes to the story are minimal, except for a whole new ending and just a real simplification of the first 4 story arcs. But tough. And they managed to get off the origin story. They managed to get off they introduce and get the little guy, Asano,
Yep.
his story in there, or Anatsu. They even have his flashback, his motivation. I think they're very committed to pushing forward that theme that I was talking about before, where you think you're the good guy, but what is good? You're the good guy, and you want to commit murder.
Right.
2 people were murdered, and so you want to murder 8.
Yeah.
Is that just?
Right.
And the bad guy that you want to kill he is avenging what he sees as a wrong. I mean, he let a lady get raped, which is not cool, but he's
Right.
avenging what he sees as a wrong that was done to his grandfather, a long time ago. And so where does this cycle end? And just because a girl goes, I'm going to kill you, now we end up standing amongst 500 bodies and the ground is slick with blood, just because this
Yes.
girl had this idea. Movies don't think about that a lot. Usually
No.
they're roaring rampages of revenge, as another samurai movie has told us. I think this is all in the casting. The casting is pretty great all around
Yep.
in this. I mean, I can't really speak for the nun because she just kind of hangs out. But yeah, the guy Tayuka Kimura plays Manji, and he's pretty great. I think he's a little old. I saw Manji as kind of younger.
Okay.
But yeah, he's good, and he's been an actor for a while. He's probably best well known though as being a member of SMAP,
Sure.
which has been around. How long are these quote unquote boy bands around? I mean, I guess we're still looking
Sometimes
at
a long time.
yeah, we're looking at like a new Kids on the Block album. So I mean, I guess I know what I'm talking about already. But
Yeah.
this movie did not do very good in Japan, and the studio tried to blame it on the fact that SMAP like broke up recently.
Oh, really?
And I'm like, all right. But maybe the people that didn't want to make it in the first place were right in that saying that, like, it's going to be hard to find some appeal for this.
Yes.
The girl, Rin, is played by Hana Sugisaki, who is fine.
Yeah.
I don't think that she's fantastic,
When
but she's okay.
she screams,
Yeah, she has a
It's-
piercing scream.
it's one note, and it's just like she has nowhere to go.
Yeah.
That would be my one criticism of her.
Yeah.
Um,
The changes to her character, to me, don't make any sense. Because I already said that, like, I like how they pushed, the unintended consequences of deciding to do something like this. There's the old adage, when you want to seek revenge, first dig two graves.
Yes.
And instead they, like, make her, oh, she's not like the other girls. She really loves eating rice. She wants to practice her sword all the time. It's
Yeah.
like, that doesn't help anything. That doesn't help the character. In fact, that gives her less of a place to go instead of, like, having her world ripped away and then going, like, I'm going to become, having this ridiculous dream that she's going to become, like, a hardened swordsman in order to avenge her family, and realizing that some people just aren't the people that hold the sword. Sometimes you needed somebody else to do that. All gone.
Exactly.
All gone. But the movie doesn't really... It's 151 minutes long, and it doesn't have really a lot of time to slow down. Like, it wants to get through a lot of these stories.
Yeah.
And so we lose the artist, Prince. We lose... later on, there's another bad guy who's an artist who paints masks. That's one of my favorite stories. That's the On Silent Wings one. There's no time for that. They kind of go towards the real flashy stuff. So we get Maki in there.
Yeah.
We get the Magatsu, who survives in this when he tries to fight Manji, much
Yes.
like he does in the books, and never comes back.
Yes.
Because the movie doesn't have any time. It's like, we gotta keep going. Sorry, guy.
Yeah.
You're out. Another good casting choice, I thought, was the guy that plays Natsu, a guy named Soda Fukushi.
Okay.
Also too old.
Okay.
Natsu to me reads like 18, 19,
Okay.
and slight when you
Sure.
see him in the comics. And this guy's like a tall guy, but he's clearly like, he's got a lot of like Bishonen roles like in his time.
Sure.
Like he's a real, pretty boy.
Sure.
And he's good.
Yeah.
He's really good. Yeah, I mean, everybody is pretty strong, I think. Except
I think
for
so too.
Erika Toda plays Maki, and she's all right.
Okay.
She was actually a Misa in the Death Note,
Oh, okay.
Japanese Death Note movie. She's fine. They just clearly
Yeah.
was like, we had to get somebody beautiful and thin. And I'm like, yeah, but like Maki's supposed to be like, she's got a better backstory that they actually get into in the comics, that in this one she's a whore. It's like, seems bad, but when you
Yeah.
find out why she's a whore, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
It's his pity.
Sure.
She's a whore. Stop
Sure.
saying sure. Stop saying sure. What do you think? Recommend?
I would absolutely recommend.
We already recommended it, but give
Yeah.
me your detailed, spoilery recommendation.
I think it's a rip roaring good time.
Okay, going back to Kill Bill. Yeah, I agree. If it's near you, see it. You won't regret it. It's
Yeah.
not perfect. Maybe I'm doing that rose-colored glasses thing, but I can get as mad and as upset, indignant as anybody else. Sometimes more about stuff, but I didn't hate it. It's one of my favorite comics. They made it into an okay movie.
Yep.
The thing about Miike, and this is my problem with 13 Assassins as well, is that he sets up. It's an action movie. It's an action movie with pathos, and
Yeah.
yet he's not an action director, and he hasn't gotten much better. So there are some really, really great parts that are clearly show the hand of a director and are directed well, and there's other parts that just look like a Japanese TV show. And maybe that's to be
That's
expected.
true.
This is at a very small budget, like under $10 million. But I wish that he would get a DP or somebody who can like really help him. They spend all this time coordinating the fights, and you've got 300 extras. Get somebody who can really give us like a nice, blow by blow, like just show the fighting in a way that really rewards all the work you put into it.
Right.
Although there are some things where I wondered how they did it. Like there's a thing at the beginning, and I'm not a cameraman, I don't shoot fight scenes, but there's a thing at the beginning where he's fighting 100 guys because they have to literally show us how he becomes the 100 killer. It's
Right.
a change from the comic. And he's wades into this crowd of guys, and it's being shot in like Steadicam, but there's this sort of chaotic movement because it enhances the fact that he's surrounded by 50 guys. But also the camera would like kind of move back and forth, and he would do something specific and it would find him again. And I wondered if the whole thing was like locked down, but then they like digitally moved it around. So like the camera wasn't on Steadicam.
Okay.
And that's how they were able to maintain such a tight focus on him when they needed it. Because otherwise the cameraman's like kind of moving around. He's kind of catching stuff. But then we'd get like some kind of moment where Manji sees something or he's going to like change a direction. And suddenly like he was right in frame. And it was like, whoa, if they did that manually, that's really amazing.
Right.
It might be possible. Like I said, don't know. Not a camera guy.
I also enjoyed how like it started out in black and white, and then he got the bloodworms, and that's when it went to color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Follow the bloodworm road. So like their Wizard of Oz moment.
Yeah.
I think it was sort of like both to just say, this was BW before Worms and then after Worms, but also a nod to the comic, which is all in black and white. So
Yeah.
But I could have done without that.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right.
Also a nod to the classic, it's samurai cinema of
Films.
old. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, your interest of Blade of the Immortal will not die. I don't know. One question. Blade of the Immortal. There's two things we know about this character. He can't die, and he's got 14 swords.
Yes.
Why isn't it called Blades of the Immortal?
I don't know.
It makes no sense. This little Nazi doesn't know what he's doing.
Oh, come on.
Well, that's it for the show. We did it. Good times. How about no more samurai for a while?
Okay.
We're samurai'd out. Unless we can think of a samurai Christmas movie to do in a couple weeks. But Samurai Christmas. That must have been a
Very
John Belushi
samurai
sketch
Christmas.
on SNL back in the day. Follow us today on Facebook and Twitter. Search for Just Enough Trope on social media, and you're going to see us. There we are, right there. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts if you search for the show. There we are. And subscribe to the show. It's the best way to get it. It comes right to you. You don't have to go looking around for it, hunting down these shows one by one and cutting them apart in amazing splash pages. Don't look up Iroguri. Don't do it.
No.
You don't want it. You can find us there. You can also leave us a review and tell us how you think of the show, how you think of it. I think of it in my mind. Or what you think of it. And also leave us a rating. We would appreciate that, because when you give us a rating, then that platform in question, be it Apple Podcasts, be it Google Play, be it Stitcher or wherever, they know we're doing a good job. And they go, got to get these guys out there. You move up in the ranks, we can be exposed to more people, and everybody gets exactly what they want. So give us 5 turds that look like bean cakes. Delicious. And already been chewed food. ABC food.
Oh.
We'll do that. It's too horrible to contemplate. Let's just give us 5 stars instead. I appreciate it. On the topic of bean turds, there's a point in that early, and then, of course, like I said, he doesn't do a lot of manga stuff. He does in that very first volume, I think, or the issue. I think he's getting it out of his system. He goes to kill the Johnny Saburo or whatever, like the fake priest guy,
Yes.
who has a gun.
Yeah.
That's something in the movie where, well, we can't talk about it. Already out of spoilers. So he goes and kills him. He comes back, and then he eats the thing, and he's like, hey, wash your hands. And she washes her hands in a bucket of water, presumably. And she's like, oh, there's all these worms in the water. So weird. Are those, like, shit worms? Or are those blood worms? Does the nun keep the worms right there in the bucket? We're all thinking about worms right now.
Oh,
Why would you say worms? You know what I mean?
gosh, I don't know.
So is that to
show-
imply that maybe the worms got into the sister? And like I said, I haven't read all the way through, but she can come back?
It could be, or it could just be to imply that the water is dirty, that she's washing her hands with.
There's worms in this water.
And she's crazy, so she doesn't know. And
But
gotta look out for her every move.
But don't say worms. They say worms
Yeah.
47 times in the comic. 46 of them are about the bloodworms, and one is about worms that are in some water.
Yeah, that's true.
Got to be careful.
This is true.
I take it all back. It sucks. Blade of the lame mortal. More like hashtag forget about it. Just kidding. All right. So we're coming back next week with our review of Justice League and also our review or comic book club coverage of Justice League International first volume. So join us then. Other than that, we are out. I'm signing off. I'm your host, Caliban.
I'm your co-host, Mikan Hana.
Keep the geek fires burning.